Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Tuesday. It's July the 7th. This will be a chart lesson for today. I apologize there was no chart lesson yesterday. I had a little business emergency pop up, and I'm doing this a little later today than I would have liked, but I had to wrap up the same issue I had yesterday. I had to wrap it up today, but should be back on track now, I hope. Um, but anyway, if you're looking for a chart lesson for yesterday and can't find it, that's because there wasn't one. So, but anyway, let's talk about today. This grease stuff has still been driving the market nuts. As hard as it sold off, we really haven't gone anywhere in the end. We're still hovering 23.70 something. But this is the kind of trading days you love to have. Um, if you caught any of these trades, I mean, they just keep running, and there's lots of entries, and then it reverses, and it's just as strong in the opposite direction. So really good trading day. And in the end, it's just a big trading range. It didn't go anywhere, basically. We are up from yesterday. You notice we closed right in here yesterday. We shot up in the overnight, sold off, and then went right back to the highs again. So lots of good movement. So good trading day. If you could be, I mean, you could have a huge day and be done by 10:30, 11 on a day like this. Really earlier than that, depending on whether or not you had any runners and how well you managed them. Um, this is the kind of volatility we like to see. Normally I prefer that it goes up because of other investments, but hey, as long as it's moving, we're going to make money, and that's all we need. We want it to go somewhere, and the more it goes, the easier it is to make money. So hopefully you are being patient and following the price action, not trying to guess at what's going to happen, and um, and that you're seeing things properly. But let's back out a little bit and take a look at the trades and go through them. And it's going to be pretty straightforward going on starting off here. So pretty quick day today probably. Um, but the first trade I saw was just after the 7 o'clock hour. Let's see what time this first trade. About 12 after it looks like. Um, But notice you had this trend line working down. It was tempting to go short here, but I think you need to wait on the second entry, which came here, and you got a nice bearish bar right there. Um, Great setup and quick, easy move. And then you got the failed second entry long. Look at that new high. Pull back first entry, pull back second entry. It looked like they were going to try to trap everybody, but if you're paying attention to the trend line, you can't go long yet and just sit tight, and then you get this great setup right off the trend line, a failed second entry long. Look how bearish that is, and it's off to the races. And if you can just catch this one trade and ride it down, um, I mean, if you held on, you could ride it, all the way. But generally, what I'll do is I'll exit when you get a break of the trend line or on a target. Um, if you had a target on this one, you might have exited a little bit too early. There's your first leg, and so you're looking for a leg fairly, about the same thing. And you can see that we bounced a little bit before that, but this thing just kept going. So if you were using a target, you were in trouble. Then you finally got a break here, but you got another second entry short, and you got a little tiny bar here. It's not a great signal bar, but it's not a bad one. It's small. I like small signal bars because you can get in with low risk. Um, what I would recommend, what I normally do if I don't really like the signal bar 100%, I might let it break below to trigger the trade, because there's no trade if it doesn't break below the signal bar. And then I'll drop a limit order, maybe right at the low, a tick back in, maybe even two ticks just to see what'll happen. And then you could have got filled and only had like a tick or two of risk. And look at this trade go. I mean, this is another one, just keeps on going. So if you can catch some of these, you're really doing well. And that is the second entry short. New low here, pull back first entry, pull back second entry. And then it runs down. It's tempting to go short here, but you probably would not have this line yet. I drew this line off of those two swings, and it didn't get confirmed until here. There is a failed second entry long here, so you could have gone short right here, but I don't like this one. It's a little iffy. So I think you need to wait, and when you get the failed second entry long there, just go short right there. And then again, it's off to the races. And And now you can draw your line. Originally I had it a little lower. And what this is, just to explain this is too steep. A nice, uh, a nice healthy trend is usually about a 45-degree angle. When they're this steep, sometimes you get a reversal or a range day, but generally what will happen is you'll get a break and then maybe a different channel that's more of a 45-degree angle, which is what we got here. So, but this was another great trade that just kept going and going and going. And there's actually a shorter term trend line here that you could use to kind of keep you on the right side. It kind of comes across there like so. But you would have exited again way too early on this one if you use this. This is actually a double top right here, so you could treat that like a new. So this could actually be a breakout pullback short and a failed second entry long. So I want to circle that one. I forgot to circle it earlier. I missed it somehow. But that's a great setup. And then there's some more failed breaks higher down through here, but I think it's just getting really risky entering through here, even though they're going to work. Sometimes on a day like this, and actually, if you probably want to look for your midline here, and that would have helped you here a little bit when we went below here. That might have alerted you to think about entering here, and it would have worked. But we already had a break of this one and a couple of legs down. So, but when you start seeing those little gaps through there between those two bars where it closes on its low and opens on its high and just keeps going, the market's really weak when it does that. So it might prompt you to enter again. Again, this is a midline here. But when it came up short, then that's got to alert you, hey, we may get a break here, and then you got a little trend line working higher. You get a break, a couple little swings to a new high, and then it tries to go higher one more time, and it breaks higher first and then turns down. Just be sitting there with a stop, because you know you're probably going to retest this low on a big move down like this. It's almost a given, and if it doesn't, then then you do something different. But when you get a setup like that, and I almost wouldn't be afraid to go short on a break below that with those two big bearish bars, but what I would have done was let it break lower and put my limit order a tick or two back in. But you've already had such a big move, it gets a little risky doing that, but it would have worked. And then you get the failed second entry long right there. Notice the new high, pull back first entry, pull back second entry, and turns down. Another nice move down, and there's a trend line working through there too. I don't have it on here. It's really probably starting off this one because that's where the downtrend started. Let's see how that fits. Yeah, that fits really nicely. And then you got a trend working up, a break there, that little failed break higher, and then you get another chance to enter right off that trend line, working off those first few bars. And there's actually a failed second entry long right there, so there's another entry right there, and that's one you can add on. So there's really two entries here. I'm going to give them two circles instead of that one circle. But this was another great setup. And then you get another little breakout pullback short. This one was supposed to be green, actually. I just forgot to change the color on that one. And the only reason I made it green was because there's so much overlap across there, but you do get that little push higher and it turns down. This is like a little breakout pullback short. You can see the little break lower, just barely below those previous lows. Then it turns up. And on a real weak day, you want to take breakout pullback shorts. And there's several of them down through there. If you look closely, there's some more, and that might have prompted you to enter some of those others. You can see this little trend line working up through there. But now we've got a break, a major break of even this one, and you got a couple legs down. So don't be surprised if you get a reversal. And it was tempting to go long right here, but I think you got to wait. There's no real setup up through here. This is really all one move down. But I think it's really risky entering there. But once it started going higher, if you'd have got another chance to enter, you might have considered, but you really never get another chance. And then you get a failed second entry long here. Um, you can't go long right here really because you've already had a break and a new high, and there's also a break above these matching highs across here. There's a little bit of resistance there. So you figure we're going to pull back and test some of that. So I like this one for a short. I really thought we'd probably just end up in a range and maybe stay in this or try to trade lower before the day was over. But this is a nice trap. If you went long, I think it worked either way, but it's still a short trap. And you might have even thought about going long, but I think the writing's on the wall once you had the break here and that big move to a new high. And this is not a very bullish bar. The only thing is it's a very tiny bar, and so it gives you a really easy entry with a low risk. And I believe it would have worked. But I like the failed second entry long for sure, coming back to the EMA and maybe even heading lower, but it just comes back and it tests and then it kind of sets the trend line, and you actually get a little trap right here, but I think you had to wait on a bullish bar, and you don't really get one. And so I don't like entering long there really. It continues to bounce off. There's a little lower high here, and so you might have thought about entering, but I think you were better off to wait on the trap, which doesn't come till right here. Even though it never broke lower on this chart, this is a pretty bearish bar, and it turns up right off the EMA. So I like that one. This is like a breakout pullback long as well, but it's just riding up that trend line. So you know that trend line is good now. And before you reverse, you're probably going to the other side. And look where we go, right to the other side. And then it pulls back. This one was supposed to be green as well because it's a first entry. But this thing's pretty solid by this point as far as this trend line, and that's a bounce right off of it. We didn't really overshoot it or anything up here. There's no real clue that it may reverse yet. So an aggressive trader is going to trade that reversal right off the trend line. And then it pulls back. It was a second entry long there, but it's not very good. And then you get a second entry long off the low. Again, it's not very good, but when you get that failed second entry short right there, notice that new low, pull back first entry, pull back, and it breaks lower right there. That's a failed second entry short. I like that one, figuring you're going to test the high. It's a quick, easy scalp, but you don't get anything anymore out of it. And then you get kind of a repeat pattern here. It's almost exactly like that, but I don't like this one as much because there's so much overlap with those little stems on both sides. So I think you were better off to wait, and then when it turns up and tests that trend line again and you get that big bearish bar, just go short right there. And boom, off it goes. And you figure it's coming to the other side before it bounces, and that's exactly where it goes to. And I didn't mark anything. That got us into there weren't really any more setups until up here. If you were still trading, it's not quite 2 o'clock, but notice the new low, first entry short, pull back second entry short. It's a failed second entry short that bounces right off the trend line. So if you were still trading, that's a blue one right there. And then that definitely got us into the 2 o'clock hour before there's anything else. So that was the last one. But you know, on a day like this, you can, if you start early in the morning, like so not everybody can trade the mornings, I understand that, but if you can start in the mornings, I mean, you're done here by 10 o'clock easy with a lot of, especially if you're doing runners, and you've probably had a big day. I mean, I love these kind of days. So it's real clear. There's no real surprises. You know, what people will do is they'll start trying to pick bottoms all down through here, and that's what gets them in trouble. Don't start trading long until you get a confirmed trend line in the other direction, and you don't get that till really right up here. It really was kind of confirmed when it's bouncing off, but I'd like to see another break and, you know, a little trap or something, and then you know you're on the right side, and that's what you get here, and off it goes. It's really tempting to enter here, and if you did, I'm probably okay with it, but you wouldn't have had the trend line. All you have is the break of this little channel and a double test of the EMA, so, you know, that's probably worth circling that one green. I will. I'm just not crazy about that setup though, just to make it a little bigger so you can see it again. Notice that you're working down, you get the break and then a couple of legs down, and it bounces off there and then pulls. So you really get confirmed there. I just don't like the signal bar, And it is somewhat of a trap though, so if you're being aggressive, you probably want to take that one. And that's really pretty much it for today. Really good trading day. Again, I apologize for the lack of a chart lesson yesterday, but we'll be back on track hopefully going forward this week. And hopefully you had a good trading day. Hopefully you had one yesterday as well. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.